Local productions on QTV are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to Junia Doan's The Spark. I'm Junia Doan and thank you for joining us. My guest today is Indira Oskvarek. Indira is co-founder of Global Compassion Incorporated, a nonprofit charity created to reach out to people burdened by poverty around the globe. So Indira, I'm really excited to hear about your charity focus. Tell us about it.
So the charity is called Global Compassion Inc. It started in 2006, but before that, for 10 years in the making, not knowing it was going to be a charity. And it started with sowing one seed of compassion in the lives of one lady in India. She was an orphan. She was in her 80s. And when we got married and I came to Midland, I told my husband, Ed, I said, we have to send her some money because she's old and she's an orphan. And so we sent money for her, and then there were a couple of other orphan girls that were also, I knew back then. And so they started asking for help, and we were doing it as our own to support. And then soon it was more requests were coming. And I had friends around me, and we will sit around a cup of tea and talk about what's going on, and they will ask me what's going on, and I'll say, well, I'm doing this and this and this, and then they will say, oh, I can help you. And so I can help you. So my voice with Ed, and just more voices joined, more hearts joined to do this, and but it was all unofficial. So for 10 years, we were just doing small projects, small help here and there, wherever, nothing specific. And then 2006, when more friends joined, and there were some few donations were coming, and so it was time to report and make it an official charity.
And how did these first people find you, or how did you know about them? The 82-year-old orphan.
I worked in an orphanage in India during my college days. And so those girls were in high school. When I came here, they were married and they had children. And they needed help with their education, the children's education, and they were asking me for help.
Now tell me about your early life. You had quite an academic career. How did you do that?
My mother was always behind education. She could not go to school because in her days, girls were not allowed to do anything. And so my mother always wanted to make sure that me being the youngest and my brothers, we will have a sound education. And so when I was doing my PhD and I did my PhD, I kind of dedicated to her, and I said, after this, there is no degree. And she was very proud of it, and she was touched, and she was very happy that...
And you came here to do advanced research?
Yes, I came to do postdoctoral research.
And why did you choose America?
All my colleagues in India come to America. They're all there right now, even they are in different labs. And so we all talk about it, and then that's the next stage, to do research in America and then go back or something like that. So I came to do, and I thought, well, I'm going to discover something here which will help people in India.
I see. And what was the focus of your postdoc research?
I always worked in the field of immunology. So for my PhD, I worked in the area of one of the tropical diseases, filariasis, which was endemic in that area where I did it. The place was called Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Medical Sciences. And so after that research, but before that, when I was in college, I wanted to become a doctor. And so I could not get into the entrance exams, and so PhD was another option. And then I worked in the field of immunology, and then when I came here, I worked in breast cancer. And so all this time I thought I will come up with something, because for filariasis there is no medicine, and it's very hard to diagnose. It's a parasite, and it comes only in the nighttime in your blood, and it's carried through mosquitoes, and so it's very hard. And there is no vaccine or nothing for that. And so I always thought I will come up with some vaccine for that. Nothing happened there. Then I came here. I said, okay, I'm going to go to something for breast cancer. So bottom line was always I wanted to come up with something which will help people.
What did you mean you couldn't get into the exam?
Oh, it was a hard test, so I probably didn't prepare well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that happens.
The medical schools, yes.
That really happens. And then you met Ed.
Then I met Ed.
And where did you meet Ed?
We met in Chicago. It's kind of divine appointments.
Oh,
you don't
I'm always
plan on
interested in what happened.
I don't know. It looks like he liked me.
Well, where did he find you? On the street?
No. We got into the conference. Kind of somehow he came from here and I came from there with some friends. And then we met there, and I went back and I told my boss that I think there is one guy who likes me.
Oh.
So my boss called Ed and interviewed, and he says he's a nice guy. So, but anyway.
How protective of him to do, your boss.
Yes. And he says if it doesn't work, you can always come back.
Oh, how generous of him.
Yes.
Were you inspired to do research in the area once you moved here?
You know, when I met Ed, there was a gap in my career. And if there was not that gap, I would not have probably married Ed. But that was the perfect opening where either I could get married or go to some other places and do research. But after coming here, I just needed to take time, because I thought now I have to think about what I want to do in my life. And Ed was very open to, instead of pushing me going to work, he says, you can take time and think what you want to do in life. And so.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Generous.
Yes, very
What
generous.
kinds of questions did you ask yourself when you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do in life at that period?
I had absolutely no clue what I could do, and all I said, Midland is such a small place, and I'm like, Lord, why Midland? I cannot do anything here. And just a lot of cries about Midland. I said, there is nothing I can do, and somehow I was not rushing to go to research. I thought we just got married, I need to know him. I was a kind of a scientist, and I thought I was married to lab before that.
Yes.
And I don't know how it will work, because I will be again in the lab, and so I thought I'll take some time and see. So meanwhile, I wanted to see the cancer patients, because I did breast cancer research. I had never, whole my life, I had never seen a cancer patient.
Hard to believe.
Yes, hard to believe. In my country, never. And I was close to the medical schools, medical colleges. All the projects were in that area, but I had never heard or seen a cancer patient. And so I came here, and I always wanted to go and visit people in the hospital, but in India it was not possible. First of all, there were no private rooms or anything, and you go
more of a ward.
More of a ward, and I thought it would have been very hard. So first thing I wanted to do was go and visit cancer patients here, and then I went to the hospital, and I saw one woman without hair. Sitting in the window. That was hard. That was very hard. But I still continued to work, volunteer there. I worked volunteer on the cancer patient, kind of that floor for 10 years.
And what would you do as a volunteer?
I just will go and visit with them, see what they need. If I should make something, how can I make them comfortable? Sometimes they wanted to talk, or anything, or rub their feet sometimes, or tell them how to breathe, or it just whatever happened, it's just like to make them feel better.
So it opened your eyes to what they were experiencing and how they could differently be, I don't say helped, but at least met.
Yes.
Yes, where they wanted.
Yes.
You're a compassionate person yourself.
We are all compassionate. It's a virtue. It comes from God, divine. Compassion is a powerful force.
Talk about that.
In the sense that it motivates us to do something about it. You take action and do something about it. Sometimes we hear about it, our heart, we feel bad about it, but then we don't do anything. And so like all these genes are activated in our body at certain time, we need to activate that gene of compassion and love in order to reach and touch people. And they could be anywhere. And you can look into somebody's eyes and you know what's going on, and all they need sometimes is a hug or a smile.
How do you activate that sense of compassion? It seems like a lot of people have it in great amounts, small amounts, sometimes no amounts, it's visible.
Yes.
How does one bring a sense of compassion out in another or oneself if one's not drawn to that?
You have to take action. Compassion requires action in order to activate it. And so no matter what small action you can take, just a little gesture, smile, reach out, or say, how are you, or something like that, and then from there, the doors will open. If you have an intense desire to really touch people's life, the doors will be opened for you.
Talk to me more about that, the power of desire.
Power of desire is, it's that, you feel it, you see it, you feel it, and then you want to do something about it. And if you cannot rest unless you do something about it. It comes back and forth, and you start thinking. As you start thinking and as you create that desire, as the intensity of your desire to reach out magnifies, so also your actions, you're motivated and you're taking your actions, you're running out, you're doing things, you're talking, and see how we can do this. Sometimes just getting the money for the drilling bore wells.
Yes. Talk to me about that, what you told me with the chili bake-up.
Women in India, in some remote villages, they have to walk for miles for water, and even that is not clean water.
What are the men doing?
Men don't know how to get water, So, since the olden times, women will carry their pots on their head and go for water and all that. So anyway, what this is drilling the wells about reaching out to the women who have to walk and spend so much time just getting water, and they have to wait by the stream. They have to dig a small hole, and that they have to wait for the water to come in that hole, and they have to scoop that water in their pot and then carry it home.
Hardly seems like enough water for a family.
No, and it's a hard life. It's a hard life. Glass of water. We hardly think about somebody can walk for 5 miles to get that glass of water, and it's heartbreaking. And I always feel bad because I'm surrounded here with all these freshwater lakes.
I know.
Largest in the world, and there are people in India or some villages. And especially women.
Were you born in one of these villages?
I was born in one of the villages.
Without water?
No, we had always had water, and we had servants to carry the water. I mean, we didn't have to go. They will bring the water. I always grew up with servants around me. So doing the chores or cleaning, cooking, and all those things, they were not my favorite things to do.
Right. You were doing studies.
And I'm doing it now. I can do. Now I have learned to do those things. Serving. For all our fundraising dinners, we cook.
You talked once in something I read about, you started out as a researcher, or a scientist, and then you became a servant.
That's how I had to call myself. I mean, that's how probably...
in the bigger definition of words.
In the bigger definition, that is what it is.
Explain what you were thinking.
Never liked it. doesn't like that title still, to be a servant. I'm learning to like it. But in India, I was being served.
Right.
Always.
Yes.
Even small things, getting food on the table or somebody bringing me a cup of tea or something, I will just sit and it will come and then it will go. I won't even take my cup to the sink.
I hear you.
When I was doing my PhD, I had a cook for myself. So anyway, and at home I never cooked. And so my mother thought
She needs
my
help.
future. And in the lab, all the guys will always tease me. They'll say, when you get married, I think you're going to get beatings.
They must have been Indian.
In India, yeah, of course. That coming to America and getting married and all that was never, I mean, that dream was never into my consciousness or anywhere.
Funny, when I think of being a servant, I think of, in an American sense,
Yeah.
anyway, or maybe just my personal one, I think of it as making things better for someone else or the project.
Yeah, and that's how I kind of come to a liking. But when you come from India,
Right, you have to learn a different.
I have to learn it a different way because I didn't think I'm going to do all these things here in this country. I mean, if I had a little notion about or a little glimpse of what I will be doing, I would have said no.
No to the experience?
Yes. And I mean it. Because it's, when we had our first charity dinner was in 2009. And we had sent invitation to 100 people. And I had no clue. And I called my friend who used to be my roommate in India. And I said, I need help. And she knew I need help.
Right.
And she lives in New Jersey, but she came to help. And she's coming every year because she really knew that I had no clue about cooking. And for 100 people, forget about it.
Yes.
But anyway, so, but now scientist and intellectual, writing paper, attending conferences, and that role has changed into cooking, getting into the kitchen, washing pots, add washes pots.
Do you
most
miss
of
your
them.
former life or aspects of it?
No, not really. But when I go back, I go into that mode again
Yes.
very quickly. And I thought, now I'm doing something here, I will go and show and do something, but it doesn't happen. But now as I realize when I wanted to help people, helping people was always, as a growing up, always I wanted to help people. And so that never changed. Whether I used to have a tree in our yard, and it will shed some fruits. And I will have these, and I was, I don't know, 8, 7, 8, whatever. I will have those fruits around and I will collect them and I will imagine there are people in need and I will play with them and I will help them. And so that was kind of my game. That later I realized when I found the charity, and it's like, where did this coming from now? And so that's what I thought. And as a doctor, I wanted to help. As a scientist, I wanted to help. But it was always with what I can do, an intellectual, with my intellectual knowledge.
So there was like a soul yearning from earliest times.
Absolutely.
Sort of a mission for life.
Absolutely, absolutely. That we believe that each soul has come with a purpose on this life to do what it was supposed to do.
And do people know it at birth, or do they have to discover it?
I think you have to discover, but from time to time, you're always feeling those glimpses, or you get these notions, and deep down in you, it's there. So as a scientist, I was doing this, but I was always very frustrated because I knew it wasn't not going to go anywhere. Whether you come with a discovery or a research or something, the information is so small and so fragmented. So when it comes to treating a whole person, it's impossible to come up with anything because there is so much involved in healing a person. Just your knowledge of, you can come up with some drug or you can come up with some anything, but it's not going to heal. It may cure.
How do you integrate Ayurvedic medicine with Western, now that you've experienced both?
You know, that is, we need both. Ayurveda is all about prevention. There is wisdom. While sometimes in Western medicine, and we need it, we go too far where you want to see a disease, you want to see a tumor in order to make sure that there is a tumor.
Yeah.
And then we can take care of it. But then Ayurveda says, don't go that far, because coming back is maybe difficult, and it is difficult. And so there is so much wisdom in that ancient knowledge that it talks about having different people, different personalities, constitutions. We are all different. Our diet is tailored, individual. What one person eats doesn't suit the other person, and so on.
So let's talk about water. The West currently is obsessed right now with drinking a lot of water. What is the Indian version of that? Do they talk about?
And not just water, ice cold water.
Yes.
Now we are going back away from global compassion now.
Yes, that's all right.
Ice cold water, you go through the rest, people don't know that ice cold water is so harmful for their bodies. One of the things that people are putting on weight is the ice cold water.
So Ayurvedic doesn't emphasize.
Anything, Junia, and even without our Ayurveda, ice cold water, your body is constantly maintaining a temperature,
Yes.
constant temperature.
Right,
You're putting something, there is nothing ice cold in your body.
right.
All these chemical reactions, all those systems that are working, nobody is requiring ice.
So you
Or
should
ice
drink something about 90 degrees.
You should drink you should drink either warm water
Yeah.
or you should drink some ice, just
Tap
tap water. And also when you drink and how you drink, especially why the kids are putting on so much weight. You have pizza and you have a big Coke or whatever drink that is, and it's filled with ice.
Yeah.
And so nothing is helping with your digestion, and you are putting on weight because your body is not able to digest. The excess water and cold water is putting up your digestive fire, that acid that
Right.
body is producing to digest. So people have no clue, no understanding, and there is so much ignorance, and that is why it's sad. I cry.
What have you
because
learned
of
about working with Ed or a husband on a project? Does it change the relationship?
Sometimes Ed is wonderful. Okay, I always say if Ed wasn't my husband, there would have been no global compassion.
Because?
Because he's so supportive. I mean, nobody would have given up after he retired. He thought we will travel, we'll have enough time for us to go do things, and I think the charity started growing, and we have always commitment. I am always worried about how to raise funds, and then I give some yoga classes to raise money also for charity.
Good for
because
you.
there is no income coming after one fundraising dinner. There is no money.
And you do something locally too. You support some of the local
We
institutions.
we have 3 outreach programs. One is community outreach, another is India outreach, and then international, which is India, but some Africa, some students from Africa that we are sponsoring with their education.
And what do you do locally?
Locally, I used to go to the jail, and I visited the girls every week for 13 years.
You would go and visit with them?
Every week, and just talk and see what's going on, and just to give them hope, bring more kind of almost holiness, God, that they need to hang on something, that to walk this walk, because it's a difficult journey. And it broke my heart because the girls are so beautiful and they're so young and they can do something in their life, but then I feel like, I will feel like, what's wrong? But then when you understand the family is broken, or there's so much brokenness in the families.
How did you create trust when you first went in to talk with them?
Trust is something, I don't know. I will be traveling in India in a bus, or I will be traveling somewhere, and people just want to talk with me, and they will talk everything, anything. So that was always the case, and you have to make them comfortable to let them open up their lives. And I don't know how that happens, but sometimes people feel you are genuine, and I am always genuine.
That is true. I appreciate that about you. I'm glad we talked about that as well, and thank you, Indira. So, if you could just do something in your life that's based on compassion, that would be really wonderful, because the action creates more emphasis and desire and, fortitude to do it. If you realize that everybody has a mission in life or a purpose for life, and this is a question you can ask yourself, because when you live in that space, if you make that connection, it's a more fruitful life. Also, this is a rare, wonderful relationship, male-female, bless your heart, and our relationships are the backbone of our community. And so as you go through life, please find someone you can be kind to or charitable to or be a trustworthy person with, because they need you. It may be just a smile, and go out and do something kind for someone you know and someone you don't know every day. See you next time. Thank you for tuning in. It's my great pleasure always to have you in my life, and thank you, Indira. So glad I had the opportunity to talk to you and find out about global compassion.
Thank you, Junia.
To contact Junia, send her an email at juniadonsthespark@gmail.com. For more information, program schedules, and news about future guests, go to www.juniadonthespark.com. Thank you for joining us. See you next time on Junia Doan's The Spark.
Local productions on QTV are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.